Alright, so last league of the night, we're going to be playing Boros Heroic in Pioneer. I'm a pretty big fan of this deck. I played this deck forever ago when Pioneer first became a thing, and it was a lot of fun. I had a couple of really sweet finishes with the deck. I had a couple of top 16s with this deck in Pioneer. I don't know, like the whole creature base, the whole plan is really good. Now, back when I was playing it, it was still playing Feather. There was a period of time before Lurrus had all of its changes that Lurrus was being played in this deck, and it was super popular, and it swapped to the Soul-Scar Mage plan. I think when we got into the Bugbear and Ancestral Anger, people started picking this deck up more. So it's pretty sweet. It hasn't changed a ton, but I do really like the idea of the deck. Sideboard 2 Light of Hope makes sense. 2 Adanto Vanguard also makes sense. 2 Rest in Peace. That's interesting because we are playing Lurrus, so I don't know how I feel about that. 2 Chandra's Defeat. Like that seems pretty good. 1 Redcap Melee. 2 Rending Volley. That's a lot of Winota hate. And it's also like a lot of different variations of 1 mana deal 4 to something, 4 or 5 to something. Chandra's Defeat's really good for, per se, Chandra. In the mono red matchup, Redcap Melee is also just very good in the red matchup. Rending Volley also helps with the mono white or Spirits matchup. Vandalblast, that's a spicy meatball. I know that's a super commonly played card in Commander, but I've not really seen that card in Pioneer. And 2 Deafening Clarion to just kind of help us like clean up and gain some life when we need it. So seems pretty sweet. I'm kind of excited to jump in, see how different the deck feels than it did like towards the beginning of Pioneer when I played this deck a lot. Because honestly, if this deck hasn't changed a ton, I might just go back to playing this in Pioneer and kind of let this be like my deck of choice. Because I'm going to be honest, I kind of feel like the whole Boros red, like deck strategy has not really been treating me that well lately. This hand seems great. What's our opponent on? Our opponent's on Kahira. I feel like Kahira either means they're playing some kind of weird elemental Pioneer brew, or they're playing blue-white control with Kahira as an option, so I'm going to run out Dreadhorde Arcanist and attack with Soul-Scar Mage. Okay. They consider Memory Deluge into the graveyard and draw a card. Let's start with Gird for battle here. Like, honestly, I'm pretty okay with just attacking with these guys and doing this here. Yep. It's also a lot better now that Teferi's banned, because Teferi was kind of problematic for this deck, so... I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and get a free point here, like a couple of points in with the Defiant Strike there. Alright, we put our opponent to 12 and say go. Next turn we have Swiftspear, Gird for battle, Ancestral Anger, which seems pretty good. Alright. Now our opponent's had 2 removal spells early on in the game, which is pretty surprising for our... Yep, pump up the jam, puts you to 7. So now we're in a spot where a land lets us hit with Dead of the Bugbear, Or, I mean, we could just keep punching in with a Swiftspear and run out Dreadhorde Arcanist next turn. Alright, we're going to attack with Swiftspear. They consider. Okay, they cycle Shark Typhoon. They consider Deserted Beach in the graveyard. They're going to block here. So I'm actually going to run out the Favored Hoplite and then just buy Lurrus. I feel like we're putting on a good amount of pressure here. We have 3 points on the board and our opponent's at 7, so feels like this hand could turn out pretty well. The fact that our blue-white control opponent has Silhouette and Detention Sphere, very unlikely. Them having 2 removal spells before turn 4 is very, very unlikely. Put our opponent to 6. Ancestral Anger number 2 is pretty sweet there. The fact that that card draws a card is so good. Alright, they have Detention Sphere for our Lurrus. Kind of hoping we draw an untapped land here. Because honestly, it feels very unlikely that our opponent actually has a 3rd removal spell for the Den of the Bugbear here. Kind of feels like our opponent has nothing here. And they definitely don't have Consider, which is what they're representing. Alright, play Arcanist and say go. Yeah, their entire play was cycle farmland there. That's pretty good for us. Now, I mean, that does just mean that they could have Supreme Verdict here, which it appears they do. Alright, land, please. Untapped land at that, please. Untapped land to end the game. Let's go. Right here. Alright. Well, we do draw 2 lethal threats. Like, we are presenting lethal this way, so that's good. And then the God's Willing does help us protect one of our threats. I wish we would have had God's Willing on turn 2 when they played the Silhouette. We would have won the game on the spot almost, I feel like. Interesting. Kind of feels like this game's over from here. With the God's Willing in our hand, if they're having to tap out to play Memory Deluge this turn, like, just kind of feels like this one's rolled up here. Kahira, okay. This thing doesn't have lifelink, does it? No, it just has vigilance. Alright, cool. So we didn't have to show him any cards we didn't already have there, which is kind of nice. So we like Adanto Vanguard because it protects itself, which is awesome. Light of Hope Destroy to blow up an enchantment or get more aggressive seems pretty good here. God, I wish I'd Fight as one in this deck. Reckless Rage seems pretty medium here. I like the Boros Charms. Yeah, I think we'll just cut Reckless Rages. Try it like this. I mean, I think Vanguard is really good. Like, just being able to, like, repetitively pay for life is to protect itself. And, like, I understand that we saw Detention Sphere and Seal Away in that first matchup there, but Vanguard, paying for life for Vanguard, like, does save us from Supreme Verdict, which is the biggest card we're probably trying to play around here. Other than that, we just play cheaper, bigger, like, better threats than they do, so we're just able to kind of come in under our opponent here. Plus, this deck's just a lot of fun. You know, I watch competitive Halo sometimes. I don't really play Halo that often. I like to play the game, but you know, just casually. But when I do when I do watch competitive Halo, it feels like nobody even comes close to touching Cloud9. We don't have a single threat in this hand, so I don't really think we can keep this. All right, this hand seems a lot better. I think we're putting the Hoplite back here. I think Soul-Scar Mage represents more damage over time. Now, if they were playing a deck that I felt like in some way we needed to like if the Favored Hoplite was going to like we were playing against Burn, I'd keep the Hoplite. I feel like it's actually better just to attack with a Soul-Scar Mage. And then hold up God's Willing here. Because this way we are... I'll give it Pro White. And we'll put that on top. That seems very good. And then next turn, we're able to play Adanto Vanguard into holding up. God's Willing here, which means it has double protection, which I really like. We'll play that on the red side. Play Vanguard and say go. Adanto Vanguard is awesome here. It plays around Supreme Verdict, and having the God's Willing helps protect from Seal Away or another Detention Sphere or something like that, so. Gird for battle. Now I guess we've given them the opportunity to have Seal Away and Censor here, so that was probably a little bit of a misstep. Maybe they just want to cast Memory Deluge here. Okay. So again, it feels like their hand is kind of weak. Now, I know that Memory Deluge is obviously making their hand better here, but it feels like their hand is a little weak based off the fact that they just kind of let us play whatever we wanted this turn, and then they cast Memory Deluge. Okay. Play a tapped Hallowed Fountain and say go. Let's attack. Hopefully they don't have Cellular Wreckage. Cellular Wreckage is the only thing that I cannot play around right now. Like, I just physically have no way of playing around Cellular Wreckage here. If they don't have anything, they're taking 8, which feels pretty good here. Okay. Don't really understand why they left 1 up. I don't think putting Lurrus into my hand this turn is correct because we're leaving ourselves open. Like I already talked about this once. How I left myself open to Seal Away and Censor, and if we're leaving ourselves open to removal spell like Supreme Verdict into like Censor if we need God's Willing for something. So. Alright. Alright, it having Trample is pretty good. Like, Ancestral Anger giving Trample is just so dumb. It's so good. We're gonna pump this up. Okay, our opponent considers. I wonder why people don't play Spell Pierce more in Pioneer. Anyone in the chat who might know the answer to that question? They consider Absorb to the bot into the graveyard. Interesting. Like, does anybody actually know the answer to that question? Something I've always wondered. Like, why is Spell Pierce not played in Pioneer more? I know that there's a lot of, like, creatures and stuff like that in Pioneer, but it just kind of feels like you could put a Jeskai, you know, something deck together here that is not terrible in Pioneer that plays, like, Mantis Rider, you know, and Dreadhorde Arcanist and maybe some stuff like that and some Spell Pierces. Okay. Pay for life, give us indestructible. Our opponent takes 7, goes to 3. We play a land. We now buy a Lurrus because we are in 0 shape of getting blown out by Censor. And see, here's like a great example of why Adanto Vanguard has been great this game. Like, maybe we're not out of the woods yet, but it feels like we're in a pretty decent spot. Like, Supreme Verdict, I don't want to say does nothing for them, but it does nothing for them. Alright. Alright, that's a lot of lands. Deck. And 15 cards. 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, that means we've seen... I mean, I don't feel like... Yeah, it's still way too many. Give it Pro Blue. And we'll scribe that to the top. That seems pretty good. Alright, if you're casting Memory Deluge now, then that's sweet. And they concede. Alright, cool. Alright, well, we're off to a pretty good start here. We didn't even really have to use Boros Charm there, but we were just able to kind of get under our opponent there and just kind of hold up spells. Like, between having Adanto Vanguard and God's Willing the rest of the game there, like, we kind of just... excuse me, we kind of just, I don't know, just like pushed through like what we needed there. So United and Sentinels tied. Always hated Oddball. That's what they're playing right now. I've always hated that game. It's like by far my least favorite game mode in Halo. Always has been. That and King of the Hill are just kind of like, I don't know, like just not great in my opinion. Which, to be fair, all we ever really played was Slayer growing up. I think Ancestral Anger has kind of given this like an extra, just like, because we used to play, I think this deck used to play like 4 Titan Strengths, if I'm not remembering. I also used to play 4 Boros Charms. We were also on 4, or maybe we weren't on 4 Titan Strengths, but we were definitely on 4 Arcanist and 4 Legionnaire. And we definitely played 4 Gird for battle too. Stop it. So it's interesting to see the changes that this deck has made. Select Lurrus. I mean, this hand's a little risky on the draw, but we do get to on the play, but we do get to draw an extra card here. So how many lands are we playing? We're playing 19, so we'll give our opponent the impression that we could be on burn, as well as the deck that I'm playing, Heroic. Alright, Ancestral Anger. Into a land, please! Alright, punished. I mean, I made a very questionable decision at best to keep a 1-lander. So, we get to play against Blue-White Control again. If we hit a land here, there's a chance. Alright. This probably gets met with a censor or a veto. That's even worse. Alright, what is this card? Everybody's been playing this card. You may exile any number of white cards from your hand. The spell costs 2 less. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value X or less. So it's basically like a different prismatic ending, is what it is. Alright, let's get in the red zone. Is this the thing I played against earlier? Yeah, no, like I sacrificed a creature. I think this is the same deck I played against earlier. So I don't think it is Blue-White Control. I think it's that like Blue-White Tempo deck. Alright, play Favored Hoplite. And say go. Okay. Alright, makes a 2/2 token. Alright, I'm willing to take 3 here. Now, unfortunately, us missing land drops has kind of put our opponent in a winning position thus far. attack the Wandering Planeswalker. Alright, so we get the trigger regardless here. Veto's fine. We still get the trigger. We'll put that on top because it helps us grind a little bit. We get to kill the token. They consider Absorb into the graveyard. And they consider Hallowed Fountain in the graveyard. Wanderer goes to 2. So they can minus to put a token here in. What do they do? Oh, they exiled my creature. Seems not bad. No counterspell one time, please. I was like, because if you do, that puts us in a pretty bad spot. Feels like our opponent's hand has not been very good. That or maybe they have a Planeswalker here and they just don't care to do this. I definitely should have played the God's Willing there. That was a mistake. Through and through. I was clicking through it too quickly because I knew they were going to make a blocker. I'm not used to that, to things like that being able to like come in and like destroy something like that. Alright, Dreadhorde Arcanist. And we'll say go. So they actually don't think we have a removal spell here because of the way we played last turn, or a protection spell, which is pretty nice. One card on top, one card on bottom. They'll probably make a blocker here. I mean, the bad news is that at a certain point, our opponent can only draw badly so many times. Like, okay. Okay, so we're going to cast Titan Strength. If they have a removal spell, they're pretty inclined to cast it here. They have to have Fateful Absence into Dovin's Veto here to stop, to be able to keep me from resolving my spells. Alright, well we know that's off the table now, so that's nice. What do they consider? They considered a farmland in the graveyard? No, put that on the bottom. We do not want any more lands. No, I would not like to pay 2 life. Attack Teferi. And we'll pick God's Willing. Curious to see if they let this resolve. They do. I'm going to pick white. I definitely should have picked the... Definitely should have picked the Titan Strength there to kill Teferi. That was just a very poor play on my part. And now we know we're not drawing the Swiftspear. I also could have taken that chance to just put Lurrus into my hand, but maybe if I put Lurrus into my hand, they don't actually blow up the... They don't actually blow up the Den of the Bugbear because they know we're tapped out. So I don't know. That was definitely a misstep on my part. Like, maybe this is just the new blue-white control. Like, maybe this is just what blue-white control looks like now. They attack for 3. Okay. Probably just going to scoop him up here. The fact that this thing has vigilance is insane. Yeah, we're just going to concede here. Like, we could take the time to try and, like, get Lurrus and grind our opponent out a little bit here, but it doesn't seem worth it, honestly. Adanto Vanguard seems very good. I don't know. Like, I know that they're playing, like, creatures, but, like, maybe we want Rending Volley here. Boros Charm seems good. Like, even Reckless Rage, like, in some numbers seems good because we know that they're playing, like, creatures. Like, I played against this deck earlier, and they were playing, like, Brazen Borrowers and Spell Quellers, and so we know we want some of this stuff. Maybe we're just trimming numbers here, like Ancestral Anger, Defiant Strike. And we cut a Reckless Rage and try it this way. That's always one of the problems with this deck, is like knowing what to cut. Also, I feel like we probably win game one if I don't keep a one-lander and get punished for it. Like, I probably should have mulliganed. But we're on the play with like a chance to draw into a card, and I don't know, like it's just always tempting in aggro decks like this. When I play these like the rockish mid-range kind of decks, like I never take those chances. But when I'm playing in matchups like this, or when I play decks like this, I'm always like, you know what? I get to see an extra card. Like, I might keep this hand if I didn't get to see an extra card. So it's always just so, I don't know, it's just always so tempting to make poor decisions like that. Our opponent must be thinking pretty hard about whether they want to keep this or not. We're down a game, but I fully believe we can come back here. I truly have no idea what's going on. Our opponent must have stepped away because there's no way they're tanking this hard. Like at a certain point, you just kind of make a decision and go with it. I guess the good news is that in between games here, I am getting to watch some Halo, so that's nice. Alright, opponent, while I'm young. You're already making this league take longer than it should have. That was 3 minutes ago. Alright, I'm going to use the bathroom while my opponent's doing this. I don't know. Alright, here we go. So, we're going to lead on Soul-Scar Mage and then go into Swiftspear. And probably just hold up God's Willing, honestly. Now we're definitely going to hold up God's Willing. No, I lied. We're going to play Swiftspear and Soul-Scar Mage here. Just kind of go in and... Our opponent had turn 1 Portable Hole, so... We're going to force him to have a removal spell on turn 2, too. Drawing Dreadhorde Arcanist is not bad there. I'd like to get to a spot to where we can hold up God's Willing here. But, I don't know, like, our opponent just keeps not giving us these choices. Attack for 3. We're going to run another creature here. I mean, if they have Supreme Verdict, they have Supreme Verdict. That is 4 straight turns of removal spells for our opponent. It's pretty good for them. Gonna run out Dreadhorde Arcanist. I mean, we're gonna keep drawing creatures. Like, we just... Like, there's actually quite a few creatures in our deck. Jesus. Alright, opponent. Say go. So our opponent went Portable Hole, March of Otherwise Whatever, into Supreme Verdict, into Portable Hole. Jesus Christ. What a draw. What a draw from our opponent. I mean, good God. Like, that... Our opponent should go buy a friggin' lottery ticket. I mean, we're going to try and kill Teferi and hope that they don't have another removal spell in their hand. How they could at this point, I have absolutely no clue. Yeah, put that on top. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and cast it here. Like, there's no reason to, like... I don't want them to draw a card here. Like... I want them to be able to do anything but draw a card here. They're just going to fire up all the Storm Giants and block here, and I'm really not okay with that. So we're just going to play Dreadhorde Arcanist and say go. I mean, it's a losing situation because if we attack, they get the free block out of all the Storm Giants. If we don't attack, they get to scry 2 with Castle Vantress, so it's kind of like, you know, double-edged sword from this situation here. One top, one bottom. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yep, we'll say go. I mean, if our opponent would just been attacking with all the Storm Giants, they'd probably won the game by now, so... They do have to tap out to do it, so I mean... It's not like doing it is free for them, but at the same time, like... It's a 3-turn clock, so... But maybe our opponent would rather just control the pace of the game instead of doing anything like that. Like, can't blame them if they would. So the funny part about this game, and by funny I mean like ungodly annoying, we've drawn 6 threats and they've managed to deal with all of them. That is super uncharacteristic for any blue-white deck, so... So, I think Favored Hoplite has the best chance of getting big enough here to actually make a difference. Our opponent's probably just going to scry again here. Or they're just going to cycle a big shark. Yep, that's fine. Okay. And they get to just make another 1/1 token here. Like, that's like the floor of what they're doing this turn. So I want to run out... I want to get another threat in here. I'm going to attack for 1. They're more than likely just going to throw a token in front here, which is fine. That's fine. We're going to do this. We get to kill both of their guys here. And then I'm going to cast Rending Volley. You can't do anything about Rending Volley, so... Alright, let's hope they scry to the bottom. I mean, they've seen 2 Supreme Verdicts. They put 2 cards in the bottom. I mean, you know, with a good draw step here, we might be able to put enough together to win this game. Really depends on what they have, like what their last 2 cards are, but... Alright, so we hit both. We get to draw a card off of that. Swiftspear is not bad. Alright, probably going to put Hall of the Storm Giants in front of Lurrus if I had to imagine. Okay. Now... that's not bad. We're going to hold on to both here. Gird for Battle is really not that bad. That allows us to snap back Boros Charm, which I really like. Because Boros Charm is just dome you kind of thing. Let's hope they don't draw into Supreme Verdict. Kind of surprised they didn't scry there to start their turn. Alright, let's put all that stuff on the stack here. And then this puts a counter on that. Oh, I meant to put it on the Dreadhorde Arcanist. I'm so bad. Alright. I'll get a Plains. That's weird. If I'd done that first, I could have snapped back Boros Charm and been in a much better spot. Am I somehow maybe about to win this game? Like, he can make a 1/1 and block the Favored Hoplite and take 10. Or maybe he just has Settle the Wreckage and I'm about to just, like, you know, pick all my cards up and go cry. I mean, okay. He is going to scry here because he realizes if he doesn't hit Supreme Verdict, he's probably just dead. He tops 1 and bottoms 1, so he must have hit Supreme Verdict. I guess Dig Through Time can also have the same effect here. No, he found cards way too fast. Alright. Boros Charm. The problem here is that we've seen so many creatures to this point, like, the odds of us seeing another creature aren't super high. Now he's looking for a counter spell. Again, he goes 1 top, 1 bottom. We're just going to keep saying go. Oh, Cycle of Shark. No, Dig Through Time again? Jeez. Jeez. So the Gird for Battle was worth 4 points. Both Gird for Battles were worth 4 points, and the Boros Charm was worth 4 points, so there was literally no difference. Okay. If he goes to Scry, we're going to go for it. If he goes to his upkeep, I'm going to go for it on his upkeep. I don't know, this is weird because you're in a spot where I can't just let him draw a bunch of more cards. If we let him see a whole lot, like more cards, and like we're just in an equally terrible spot later, so we kind of have to go for it now. This is the third time in 2 leagues we played against these like blue-white decks. Like, I'm so sick of playing against this garbage tonight. Alright, so our opponent stays at 2. Okay. That's fine. Like, it sucks because we don't have many outs here. They're also just continuing to play lands every turn, so they must have drew an Absorb if they're just going to attack for 7 like that. Alright, play Soul-Scar Mage. Say go. Let's attempt to scry 1. Oh, we definitely don't want that. Can they fire at both of the castle of the Hall of the Storm Giants here? I believe they can. And if you do it, I'm just going to concede. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So we lost a game where, honestly, game 2 should have never have been a game. Our opponent's curve was 1 mana removal into removal spell, Supreme Verdict to Fairy. Like, that was insanity. Like, we should have never even have been in that game. And the fact that we even had a chance there really shows the resilience of this deck and how it can kind of bounce back and kind of grind as long as you continue to draw creatures. Now, granted, there is 18 creatures in the deck. You know, it used to be very, like, I can't remember how many creatures we used to play in the deck. Like, it feels like for some reason there was, like, right around 19 or 20 when I played the deck. But we also played Feather, so, like, when you were playing against other, like, creature-based decks and you were just looping Reckless Rages and you were holding up God's Willing the whole time, like, it just felt so hard to lose. Now, granted, that is a little tough because you had to get there, so it wasn't exactly free. I like this hand. It seems pretty good. Hopefully if we play against blue-white again, hopefully our blue-white opponent does not have 25 removal spells to play on the first 3 turns. Ketria Trial, okay. Play 10th District Legionnaire and attack for 3. Put our opponent to 17 and say go. And next turn we have a couple of options here. Interesting. I don't know what our opponent's playing here, but we don't want that one. We draw a card. Man, this is so much damage. Scry that to the bottom. Let's just go in again. I mean, what the heck? I don't know. Like maybe they have petty theft or like something here, but they haven't really done anything yet. So oh, so it's Niv. We'll put that on top. You go to 3, and then even if you have like some kind of sweeper. Yeah, okay. I was like, I don't know what sweeper you have, like Languish to get you out of that or something like that, but so Adanto Vanguard feels good in this matchup. Don't really care about that. All the deal a bunch of damage doesn't really do anything. They don't really play enchantments. Reckless Rage paired with Soul-Scar Mage could be pretty good. Feels like we just really want to get under them. Hoplite seems like our worst creature here. We'll cut Hoplites and try it, which I know is pretty greedy because we're going to go down to 16 creatures, but it would not be the first time I've cut creatures from the Feather style deck. We're on the draw. I know it's aggressive, but man, this hand's just so good if we hit a land. Like, it's so weird because it's like, yeah, we're on the draw. We get more chances to draw lands, but we're also on the draw, and that gives them more chances to play removal spells, so let's just rip it Inspiring Vantage and call it a day right here. Ooh, interesting. Mana Confluence might help us out some. Wow, we did rip an Inspiring Vantage. How about that? Well, we're going to go for the crazy, insane, oh my god, aggressive draw again. Even though we might kind of get blown out here. Is this Le Fatal Push? Yep, seems good. Alright, I am once again asking you for a land. Because if we hit a land, we can play 10th District Legionnaire into, you know, honestly, into about anything we want here. Ancestral Anger, Titan Strength, Defiant Strike. We can hold up God's Willing. There's multiple options here, so. So he has the Fatal Push. Probably going to cast it now. It's like I would have. This is the most mana efficient play we can make here. Okay. Now let's cast Ancestral Anger because we get to scry and draw a card here. They have to have a 2-mana removal spell and a 1-mana removal spell here. And they've already played 2 Fatal Pushes to be able to play around our God's Willing that we have. I wonder why Niv doesn't play Prismari Command. We'll put that on top. I like that. Never really thought about that until right now, but it seems very good. I am just okay attacking for 4 here. Like, Prismari Command kind of seems like one of the perfect cards to play in the Niv deck in Pioneer, so is Prismari Command like one of those arena-only cards? Red? Yep. Okay. To get Niv here, they're dead. Extinction Event. Let's cast Defiant Strike. Ooh, put that on top. I think they're dead now. And we get to draw a card. They're not dead. But it is quite a bit that we're getting to push through. If we draw into like another Titan Strength, they're dead. Ancestral Anger does not kill them, but it's 5. Yeah, Ancestral Anger does kill them actually. So Ancestral Anger or Titan Strength number 2, Defiant Strike. 4, 5, 6, 7. No, Defiant Strike doesn't kill them, but I don't know. Even if our play is just to play Swiftspear and then play Titan Strength and then like attack for 5 and then hold up God's Willing, is very good. Drawing Boros Charm is awesome. So, yeah, we're going to attack for 5. We're going to hold up the God's Willing, and the next turn we go into our turn knowing that we have Boros Charm for lethal. Seems pretty good. Pretty good indeed. Spring Delight again. It is Bring Delight again. Okay. Alright. Well, thanks for playing, opponent. Deal 4 to them. Our hands... Magician Magico. I have no idea what our opponent said. Does anybody translate what I assume is Spanish? I know K means like watt or something like. I think yeah, K means watt in Spanish, so I assume that's Spanish. But either way, we had very good draws there to be 2-1. So the funny part is we never even had a chance to really use God Willing. We kept a pretty greedy hand on the draw, and it really worked out for us because we drew into the third land. We drew into the second land exactly when we needed it, and then we drew into the third land. Not the next turn, but 2 turns later, so ended up being pretty good for us. What is this? E United versus Optic. You know, I know I say this when I watch Halo, but it just feels... Oh, it's the same person! Hi, and good luck, opponent. Maybe our opponent will have better draws. I would be lying if I said I hoped that they do have better draws, because I really hope they don't. But either way. Alright, we'll play that on the white pathway. Play Favored Hoplite and say go. You know, I'm not gonna lie. When my opponent complains in the chat, you know, most of the time I don't really mind. One thing that does bother me is that when people complain in the chat, but they don't say hi and good luck. Like, if you don't have enough time to think about being a good sport and saying hi and good luck at the beginning of the match, don't be a little bitch and put your problems on me at the end of the match because I drew better than you. I don't like that. And I feel like I'm pretty okay with me saying that because it is very rare that I ever actually, like, complain in the chat to who I play against. Now, I complain about it out loud verbally all the time. My head would explode if I didn't. But let's just hit an untapped land right here and just kind of go ham. Play this. So I wonder, what are the downsides of them having Deafening Clarion here? If they have Deafening Clarion, is it just kind of a blowout? I'm actually just going to attack for 3. And then hold up my spells here. Because if they have Deafening Clarion, I can save either one of my creatures here. Alright, let's see what we hit. You have Fatal Push here? Ooh, put that on top. That seems really good. We'll draw that. Discard the land here. We'll put that on top and we'll draw it. That also seems very good. We draw a card. We see Titan Strength. I haven't counted. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what our opponent said last game, but based off what they said last game, they're probably not happy with how the game is going so far now because we just gave them the business. That's the 3rd game in a row we just kind of given them the business here. I can't remember what we cut last time. I think we cut 2 Reckless Rages. I actually think I cut 2 Favored Hoplites, but I think Reckless Rage is... Yeah, I think Reckless Rage is just worse than Favored Hoplite in this matchup. Like, again, we can, you know, Reckless Rage a Niv or something like that, but I think we have a better chance of just trying to get under them. I think this hand does a very good job of that. Now we have 0 protection here, but this hand is pretty good. One thing that I think this deck probably should be playing in the main, at least some number of, I would say, is Fight as One. I think Fight as One is like one of those like really good cards in this deck. And I just like, it helps in spots where people are going for like against Fatal Push decks, which are very popular in Pioneer. It is a big help in my opinion. I think the Heroic deck has a pretty good positioning in Pioneer. I think it has a good enough amount of hate to be in a pretty decent spot here. I am going to shock in and just play the Arcanist, unless I draw something that severely changes my turn. My thought process for that is that if I play Dreadhorde Arcanist here on turn 2, then on turn 3 I'm able to have a pretty big turn with Swiftspear and Arcanist here. The fact that they had K-Command as their interaction in the first game panned out very well for us. Now, we are walking our Dreadhorde Arcanist, like, it does just kind of get eaten by like a Deafening Clarion here. But I don't think we have a ton of choices here, if I'm being honest. This is Vanishing Verse, okay. Playing Vanishing Verse while I'm tapped out is pretty good. Man, that's the second time you guys are trying to get me to buy followers tonight. I'm good. Again, thank you, though. So I think I'm just going to try and have a pretty big turn here and then use Boros Charm as cleanup. Now, I don't know if that's correct or not, but that is what I'm going for here, because I'm going to put my opponent to 12. Apparently I scored a drop, probably from Halo if I had to guess. I am watching Halo in the background right now. Extinction event, alright. Now my opponent's basically at 5 here with the Boros Charm. I'm just going to play this and get my Lurrus. I do have the... Oh, come here. I do have the Favored Hoplite as an option, and you know, one thing that might not be a bad idea next turn is just to play Lurrus. Our opponent's at 3 now. Is just to play Lurrus and then hold up Boros Charm. Hopefully we just draw our other Boros Charm and we just win the game here on the spot. Alright, so you can't have that or that. Wow, the only card they put into their hand there was Tolsimir, which is pretty good for us. So there's not really much of a way to stop the life gain here. I'm going to hold up the Boros Charm here as protection. That, or maybe we get lucky and our opponent has to go to 4 or something here to like play the Tolsimir somehow. And it's like, no, not likely. But it would have been sweet if they did. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Okay, so there was another trigger. I didn't want to get put in a bad spot there if the trigger did not work out the way I needed it to. This game's not going well. That's a lot of lands. Let's see. 13 cards, and that's 7 lands. 6 spells and 7 lands in the old aggro deck is not exactly what you want to see. So I no longer have the Tolsimir. So I guess this carry added. You're running out carry added here. I mean, doesn't seem bad. It's a blocker. Plus, Niv kills us in 2 shots, so our opponent doesn't really have to get super aggressive here. It's so interesting that they're playing Growth Spiral. Also, I haven't seen a Sylvan carry added yet, so I mean, maybe they're not playing it. Like, maybe they're just on the Growth Spiral plan. Something insane. So I can actually attack with the Lurrus and double strike it, which is pretty cool. And gain 6 here? Well, I guess if they only block with one thing. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. Alright. So we go to 10. Which, I mean, you know, is not terrible. Basically just, we traded our Lurrus for an extra turn there with the Niv, so kind of just need our opponent to have nothing here. Which is very unlikely, because they've had a pretty good hand. They had Abrupt Decay into Vanishing Verse, Extinction Event into Niv, which is pretty solid. I honestly kind of thought we were going to run away with this one too, but I'm glad that, you know, we're actually getting to play. Oh yeah, that's going to do it. We'll concede there. Alright, well, at least we don't sweep our opponent back-to-back times here. Yeah, I just think we're kind of running it back this way. Like, Redcap Melee doesn't really do anything. Chandra's defeat's only 5, right? It's only 5. Yeah, there's not really a ton to do here. Like, and I think we want a couple of Reckless Rages in just to, like, you know, as a backup or something. I think this hand's really good. Yeah, mulligan. Mulligan. I mean, you know, I have to say, as much as I play against a 5-color Nif deck, it doesn't mulligan that often. Like, and I'm not saying it should. I just figure with 5 colors, you know, I'd have to mulligan just a little bit more. You know, one thing I've always wondered is why that deck does not play... I'm definitely going to run out Dreadhorde Arcanist here. Gives us the highest upside. I've always wondered why the Niv deck does not play Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Like, I just feel like that would solve so many of that deck's problems. You get to play an extra land, and it has the capability... Growth Spiral into a land and cast Fatal Push on my Dreadhorde Arcanist. Yep. Yep. That's actually pretty sweet for them. So we'll do this. Hopefully hit a land here, and then we can kind of just like, and then we can run out the Gird for battle here. Alright, it's not terrible. We do get to come in for 5. Extinction Event puts our opponent to 10. That honestly feels kind of underwhelming. Alright, so we put our opponent to 2 with 2 lethal threats in play. Then the Bugbear is backup. We haven't bought our Lurrus yet, so... And one of their lands is a Mana Confluence. Man, this matchup just feels rough for the Niv deck. That or I've drawn very well. And make no mistake, I have drawn pretty well to this point. I make no qualms. I don't know. I make nothing about that. Like, I have drawn very well. I assume they're playing Bring to Light here. And they're going to get... Like, I assume Shadow's Verdict. I assume they get Shadow's Verdict so that I have nothing in my graveyard either. They're going to get Tulsamere. And go to 4. Fight our Soul-Scar Mage. Go to 4. They have a 1/1 Wolf, which is kind of nice. Boros Charm? Alright, so it's kind of weird, because I don't want to overextend into a sweeper, but at the same time, like, I've got to put threats on the board. Just Bring to Light number 2. Bring to Light just is like the most obnoxious card in the whole world. Like, I hate Bring to Light with everything inside of me, because every time I play against Niv, I feel like, okay, I can beat whatever you're doing until you get to Bring to Light. Bring to Light is the card that pushes people over the top. Like, that is what makes the Niv deck good. Okay, phone, shut up. If it actually weren't for the Bring to Light deck, I don't think you could play this deck. I swear to God, if this is Bring to Light number 3, I am going to have an aneurysm. We're just cycling to Triumph? Okay. So they are playing Sylvan Caryatid. They just haven't shown it to me until now. Alright, let's cast Defiant Strike. And they go to 3 if they have a Fatal Push, so, like, it's not, like, great for them or anything. Alright. Running out the Lurrus is a little aggressive here, but Expressive Iteration is not bad for leftovers. Alright, they played Drone Catacomb. Okay. Alright. Alright, no removal spell. Get this pro-grade and get in there. I mean, I like Gird for Battle, but Gird for Battle's not winning us the game from here. Pro-green put our opponent to 2 here. I mean, this has been a heck of a game. There's been a lot of back and forth here. Like... No. Okay. I mean, if you drew Niv or Bring to Light number 3, like, you have to go to 1 here. Or you have to play a land, an untapped land. Okay, Vanishing Verse. I was like, and they're probably going to attack for 3. Wow, why are you not attacking for 3? I can assure you I would be. Like, I don't understand. What does leaving that back do for you? Like, I honestly feel like it does absolutely nothing. Is this Niv? Niv might end the game here. Now it's Bring to Light. Oh my god, it's Bring to Light. Jeez. Alright. Bring to Light's probably going to find Niv. It's going to find Omnath. Ew. Well, that's also game, because if they have a land, the game's over. Yeah, I was like, and they probably had a land in their hand. Alright, well, our opponent saw 3 Bring to Lights in the top half of their deck. Nothing I can do about that, so... Because we had a pretty good draw. Wasn't like my draw was bad or anything. So, I get to fire this up, and then I get to attack and give it pro-green. So, he gets to block the 1/1, take 3, go to 3, and then as long as he doesn't have a land, probably does, we're in another situation where... We're in another situation where we need them to not have a land. And if they don't have one, we have the chance of drawing out 2 Boros Charm. I'm going to put that on top. Because if they... Again... Not likely, but if they don't have a land, God's Willing is lethal. Ugh. Gosh. Alright. At least we get to scry here. Question is, are you going to come crashing in for 7? Our opponent honestly would have won the game by now if they would have just, like, attacked. Like, honestly, like, I understand that I play things way too aggressively for the most part, but this is a prime example of our opponent should have. All right. Pro green. This puts them to 4? Nah, I gotta put that on the bottom. Gotta put that one on the bottom, because we're looking for them to draw, like, a Fatal Push here, and for us to draw a Boros Charm. Just Deafening Clarion. Oh, no, you goose. You goose. He's going to look for a land here. Come on. Alright, so we have had our opponent almost dead for like a million turns. And, you know, I'm going to say GG's to my opponent, because they're too much of a sad bitch to say good game to me even after they lost. So, I feel like that shows how good this matchup is for this deck. Like, again, the 2 losses we've had came off the fact that our opponents had cracked draws, and we still almost won both games. So, like, game 3 against Blue-White Control, our opponent has removal spell, removal spell, removal spell, Supreme Verdict to Fairy. That's their curve. Like, that is literally their curve. And we put them to, like, 2 or 3, and we almost won the game. You go back to the match we just played. We had our opponent for, like, 4 or 5 turns where we had to draw one of our Boros Charms as an out to win the game. And this came after they had played 3 Bring Delights. So they played 2 Bring Delights, and then the 3rd Bring Delight got them Omnath, which still we almost won the game after that. You're talking about us drawing 1 more spell instead of a land. Like that 5th land, that 6th land that comes off the top. Instead of us drawing that, we draw like a Boros Charm, we draw a Titan Strength to push through damage. Like, that wins the game from there. So this has been a pretty good league. I have to say that this deck has felt a lot better than it did in the past. And I just don't know if it's the new cards that are just making it feel better. Or maybe we're drawing pretty well tonight. I'm not sure. I'm going to mulligan this, because if we don't hit a land here, the game's over. Like, at least with this one, we have a chance. I put the Defiant Strike on the bottom there because we are... Is this blue-white again? Oh my gosh. My god. Did everybody just become blue-white aficionados overnight, like while I was gone this last week? Like, for the love of God. Okay. So it's Jeskai Ascendancy at least. Oh no, it's Bant Spirits. I can live with that. That's fine too. Let's hit a land, please. Let's hit a dual land at that. And we don't hit a land. That kind of sucks. But we are pushing through for 3, so... If we don't hit a land here soon, game's probably over. The Bant Spirits deck will just kind of overpower us at a certain point. Land, please. Alright, we're going to attack and see what happens here. If they block, we're going to Defiant Strike and kill their thing. Now they have to sacrifice a Selfless Spirit here to save it. If they want to do that, that's fine. We draw another land, which is pretty good. They don't get to kill our Swiftspear, and they're still taking damage here. We basically traded a Defiant Strike for a creature. We traded a card that cantrips for a creature. I'm pretty okay with that trade. Alrighty then. Huh. Alright, we're going to play Favored Hoplite. Going to cast Reckless Rage on the Favored Hoplite. Cannot figure out what's going on with my eye right now. They're going to give that indestructible, which is fine. And then we're going to push through 2 more points of damage here. And then next turn we're in a somewhat decent spot because we have God's Willing. Right now it looks like we have God's Willing or Boros Charm next turn, which is fine. The fact that our opponent has been bricking on lands has been good for us. They finally hit their 3rd land here, which means they could have Skyclave Apparition or Spell Queller. Mausoleum Wonder. Is this into another Selfless Spirit? Or are you going to hold up Rattle Chains here for protection? Go on the Rattle Chains route, okay? I mean, we're going to send them with the Clowns here. And see how they block. Because if nothing else, we can just give our permanents indestructible and just eat some of their things. Like, we don't really have to make any like super aggressive plays with multiple spells in one turn. We're ahead pushing the tempo right now, so again, if they're willing to trade the Mausoleum Wanderer for 4 damage, they probably are. I'm okay with that. They actually don't have to because they have Lofty Denial there. I have to say I did not see that coming. So our opponent goes to 8, and we don't really have a protection option as far as like God's Willing is concerned. Alright. Don't let this be Skyclave Apparition. Good news is that next turn, even if they have Spell Queller, I think we're in somewhat of a position to represent lethal. We can give at least one thing protection from blue. We're guaranteed to give at least one thing pro blue. Now, Shacklegeist is interesting. Shacklegeist does make for a little bit more interesting gameplay, honestly. Playing the Inspiring Vantage is fine because it gives us the option of activating the Den of the Bugbear next turn. Now, granted, they do have a Shacklegeist in place, so like just activating Den of the Bugbear is not the greatest play over and over again. But it's not bad. Ooh, they're just gonna let us attack. Interesting. This puts them taking 5. And we get to scry. Pro blue. I don't hate that. We'll leave that on top. They go to 3, and we have 10th District Legionnaire into God's Willing next turn. That seems pretty okay to me. So they definitely have Collected Company here. Now the question is, are they going to cast Collected Company here to try and hit Spellqueller? And they are, which is pretty. I mean, it's always like one of those like chance, like you're taking a small chance here, but. They needed to not hit that. They needed to not hit that. Oh man, that sucks. Like, if they hit something like anything that's not Skyclave Apparition or whatever this thing is called, what's it called? Welcoming Vampire? Whenever one or more other creatures with power 2 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once per turn. So, I mean, it's a good way for them to draw cards, but at the same time, like, we were able to just give pro blue here and just push through. So now we're... Okay. We will put that on top. And then we don't get to attack here. That's unfortunate. Do they have lethal on board? 3, 6, 9, 11, 12. No. Another Lord. Another Lord kills me. So I had the game won right there. More than likely. Maybe not. I don't know. Because they're going to make me attack before they do anything. No, I didn't have the game won because if I hadn't played 10th District Legionnaire, I had the game won. Do they really not have the win here? I don't think we'll get this opportunity again, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm just going to concede here because they're just going to block. Unfortunately, there just wasn't a way out of that for us because even if we let that resolve, it didn't matter. Target red creature or planeswalker. Deafening Clarion seems okay. Do we want Adanto Vanguard here? I don't think we do. I think we just want to try and get under our opponent. Honestly, Boros Charm seems not great here. I don't know. I really like Gird for battle. Really like Anger, Trample Over, God's Willing. Maybe cut a Defiant Strike. The Rending Volleys will really help us here just because, one, like they can't be countered by Lofty Denial or anything, and they are very good. want us to start? I'm going to use the bathroom real quick. All right. Here we go. Take a Lurrus. I think we got a mulligan. Like, I like the hand, but I don't think we can keep the one-lander. And I think we're keeping this and putting the God's Willing back here. At least our opponent mulliganed also. The Rending Volley is just too good here, and I think the Deafening Clarion can either, one, give us lifelink if we need it, or it can like help sweep up the board. Plus, being able to use Dreadhorde Arcanist to snap back Rending Volley here is very good. They have no turn 1 play either. That's awesome. If they don't play anything here, then we're definitely just looking at Rattle Chains that are trying to get us like a Lofty Denial or something like that. Like, that's the only two things I can really think of, because other than that, they'll play something. So let's cast Rending Volley. Let's cast Ancestral Rage. Let's attack for a bunch, and let's snap back Ancestral Rage. Doesn't really matter what we target, honestly. Alright. Well, we put our opponent to 11, and we have God's Willing from here. Plus, we have Rending Volley to snap back here, which is pretty sweet. Like, Dreadhorde Arcanist can be so dumb. Now that's pretty solid. If we had drawn the Rending Volley at a better time, or the God's Willing at a better time, we could have played around that. Yeah, you want to take 2? I'm willing to just say okay here. You know, the funny part is if we draw a land here, Kyle, if you're watching this stream, I'm streaming, buddy. I'll join the party after this. Like, we're only 1 land away from being able to go Deafening Clarion into God's Willing. They're going to Spell Queller this, which is fine. Feels like they have another Spell Queller here. I don't know. Clarion's very good, but we need something to go with it. Just going to yield to this here. We are going to give this Pro Blue. Lol, now Kyle is inviting me to do something else. Interesting. Yeah, we're just going to go for it here and force them to use... Force them to use their Mausoleum Wanderer here. Nope, I will not be paying for that. And then we're just going to come across for 9. Just kind of bully you into blocking a little bit here. I'm not going to lie, this doesn't feel like a great matchup for me. I think I'm definitely more willing to kill the Spell Queller here. We'll scry that to the bottom. We don't want any more lands. Getting a 2/2 would have been fine there, but Skyclave Apparition. Alright, that's pretty good. I mean, we have no way to like really close the game out as far as like reach with like Boros Charm or anything. I was like, there's no way you're about to attack with all of that. So there's like, I appreciate your optimism to be able to come in for 4 here, but if you do, you're just dead. I mean, that's not bad. Pro white. Man, that's really good. I think we gotta put that on the bottom though. I think being able to attack for 2, put our opponent to 1, and then buy Lurrus. And then hopefully we just we're I mean, what are we? Is it Ancestral Rage? Yeah, so I mean, we're looking for our 3rd God's Willing to try and end the game here. Our 3rd God's Willing and 15 cards. Seems very unrealistic, but it is an out. Defiant Strike to look for more things would be good. Gird for battle is also very good. Honestly, Deafening Clarion would be a house of a draw right now. I don't know what our opponent has in their hand, but that would be a very good draw. Attacking for 6. Alright, our opponent's trying to end the game. I respect it. So, we're more than likely going to attack. Our opponent's going to flash in some blocker that's not Spell Queller, and then they're going to hold up Spell Queller for my Lurrus. Like I said. Okay. And now we're not dead because of the Skyclave Apparitions they have, actually. We're actually not in a terrible spot here. We have quite a few good outs here. We don't even have to block with the Lurrus. We can throw a Soul-Scar Mage in front of a Skyclave Apparition here if we want to. Man. The only thing I could... They can't flash in a Lord here. Collected Company, maybe? Alright, so this puts us taking 6, going to 1, gaining 3, going to 9. And then we have two bodies on the field that represent lethal with 1 card in their hand. The only thing I can think of that they drew here... Are you serious? We drew a freaking Plains? Jesus. Alright, I mean, inevitably we're going to say go here. Like, we can't attack. I was like, we go back-to-back lands and they draw a Collected Company? Alright, we go to 4. I mean, I don't think we have a choice but to go for it here. I feel like they have a Spell Queller in their hand. Okay. I mean, maybe they maybe they have a Rattle Chains? Settle the Wreckage. Alright, well, that is ungodly interesting. Alright, well, to end the game, we went land, God's willing. Like, we were in a winning position there, and we drew garbage to end that game. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. We put ourselves in a spot to win the game, and we drew 2 lands and a God's willing. Now, God's willing is great, so we drew God's Willings at the worst time possible, like actually. So if we have God's Willing, the turn we have Lurrus on the field, if they sacrifice the Selfless Spirit, it doesn't matter because we cast God's Willing and give it pro-white, and we get to keep our Lurrus around. I mean, maybe I'm just supposed to throw the Soul-Scar Mage in front there and not block with the Lurrus. I don't know, like, but at the same time... But if I do that, we're just dead because we were at 6. So, no, we were at 7. I don't know. The fact that we bricked so hard there at the end of that game, like, was just really bad. That's what happened all three of our losses tonight. They came from blue-white opponent drawing, like, ripping gas, like, Niv opponent ripping gas. Because the first time we played Niv, we played the exact same opponent, exact same 75, and they had like a very okay hand, nothing overpowering, and we ran them over. And then that last game we played against Bant Spirits, and like, I don't know, we just, not much we could do there. Like, our opponent drew Settle the Wreckage, which I understand that they play a 1 of there, like that most of those lists play a 1 or 2 of in the side. But I mean, the fact that they peel it off the top in a spot like that when we're both trying to race there is just really bad for us. So, and to be fair, to give our opponent some respect, actually, they did not attack with any, like, they didn't attack out representing that they had Collected Company or Sell the Wreckage. They actually just attack with a Spell Queller, which tells me that they're going to block. So God's Willing is actually kind of coming in, like, is actually, like, what I think is great there. So it was a good play by my opponent. Like, honestly, that was pretty good play. I don't really have much to say about it other than, like, good job for them. So yeah, this was Boros Heroic. I really like the deck. I'm going to be honest, I do not think you need all of these. Like, the 2 Chandras defeats the Redcap Melee, the 2 Rending Volley. It's overkill. You don't need all of that. It's ridiculous in my opinion. Like, I just don't think you need all that. I think this sideboard could be more it's like to this, to this, to this, to this, to this, to this. Like, I'm not a huge fan of that. Like, I understand why we're playing Rest in Peace in this deck because of the decks in the format, but I kind of feel like you have to. I kind of feel like you kind of concede playing Rest in Peace when you're going to play Lurrus, in my opinion. Like, it's hard to play Lurrus and Rest in Peace in the same deck. I think you cut. I think you cut a Redcap Melee. I think you cut the Redcap Melee. I think you cut the Vandalblast, and I think you play. I'm trying to think. I don't like having Rending Volley and Chandra's defeat. So I think like if you cut Redcap Melee and Vandalblast, I think that gives you the opportunity to play. Part of me wants to say a third Adanto Vanguard because Adanto Vanguard is very good. And maybe I'm feeling that way because of all the blue-white I played against tonight. But I think third Light of Hope is very good. And I think third Light of Hope is very good for the metagame. And I think third Adanto Vanguard is very good because I think like when you play against like mono black or like vampires or something like that, like I think you get the option to do that. I would honestly be pretty down to just like come back and like play this deck with the changes that we're talking about, and I think there should be some copies of. I think there should be some number of. I can't remember what it's called right now. It's the single white target human, target non-human gets indestructible. I don't know. I can't remember what it's from off the top of my head, but like maybe you cut a Boros Charm for that. 3 Boros Charms. I don't know. Like you have Defiant Strike and Ancestral Rage to snap back Boros Charm with Dreadhorde Arcanist. I don't know. I'd like to play with this list and see what I could come up with. Honestly, just from all the times I've played it, see what I could play that fits me better. So